Good evening. I'm here to present my interpersonal communication project. My name is Warren Hartzog. I'm from Liberty University, and my class is HSCO 508. Next slide. Um, my introduction is, "Oh, give thanks unto the Lord, for he is good, for his mercy endureth forever." This comes out of Psalm 118:29. I am presenting my final project to cover various categories. My focus is to become less talkative and more effective as a listener. I also want to improve my listening skills and not be so distracting as an unskilled listener. I also want to invite a God into my conversation when I am talking or listening. Next slide. My introduction. I also want to improve on being a more empathetic listener. This course has taught me to allow others to answer their own questions when I just practice listening to them. I also learned that I do not have to always be talking and that listening is the greatest form of learning. God is in control. I do not have all the answers. Next slide. Um, my overarching goal is self-disclosure with others. A closed mouth does not get fed. I must allow individuals into my circle. This is how I can have trusting and more quality in my relationships. I must improve on being honest and genuine with others. I may be good with verbal communication. I need to also become conscious of my nonverbal communication. With my behavioral blend, I need to work on better communication. I am not very good at consistently making good choices or decisions. Next slide. What is enlarging the conversation? Enlarging the conversation is realizing that there's another person on the other side of the conversation, which makes it an interpersonal conversation. One way to enlarge the conversation is to keep in mind the 6 features of communicating: meaning, choice, culture, identities, conversation, and most importantly, nexting. Next slide. What is enlarging the conversation? Um, gives the talker and listener the opportunity to communicate. It is a skill that helps individuals communicate effectively. Individuals are able to communicate as talkers and listeners. Practice effective communicating with the ability to listen. Learn the skill of being a good listener. Understanding the value of listening. Listen without being a distraction. Next slide. My background. I'm attaining a master's degree in human services for marriage and families. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in behavioral science. I am single. I'm a 58-year-old African American male. I was raised by my mother after my father died when I was 2 years old. I was born in Pennsylvania and currently live in Pennsylvania. Next slide. Um, I'm going to identify the behavioral blend. It is identified by 4 categories. Um, D, active task-oriented. I, active people-oriented. S, passive people-oriented. And C, passive task-oriented. Also, my personal behavior blend and what is expected of me falls under the category of S, passive people-oriented, and D, active task-oriented. What is actually me falls under 3 categories, which is S, passive people-oriented, C, passive task-oriented, and I, active people-oriented. Next slide. My behavioral blend identifies that I prefer not to worry about details. I am very indecisive and tend to always research and get my facts straight before speaking. I am a people person and can make individuals feel as if I am their dearest friend. People really like me and enjoy listening to what I have to say. Next slide. Some other features of my personal behavior blend. I am both outgoing and reserved. I have strong people skills. I'm laid back and not assertive unless someone is trying to make me go against my plans or beliefs. Others see me as knowing all the right words to say and having a warm way to communicate. My leadership is varied, but I tend to be more personable than other personality types. I do not think about being in control or conquering difficult tasks. I would rather everyone be safe and happy. Next slide. Um, some potential barriers that I uh, must address. I must be aware of listening habits so I can address them. I must maintain good eye contact, remain attentive to what others are saying throughout our conversation. Next slide. Some other potential barriers. I need to understand the importance of listening. My perception of others influences my reception and how much I pay attention to a person. When others are talking, I must not interrupt until they are done talking. I can practice active listening to help me keep my cool, remain objective, and be empathetic to the other person's point of view. Next slide. Um, listening, listen my way into better relationships. God's gift to us is listening. Good listening includes a gentle and accepting style, using words, tone, and body language, and having an inviting, bite your tongue, patient attitude. Uh, be empathetic. Next slide. Um, some internal noise pollution examples are hearing what you want to hear, not understanding what is being communicated. Uh, Past experience filters can make a better listener hear what they wish or desire. Solution to that is the clarifying technique. Next slide. Some additional internal noise pollution examples and solutions are biased listening, form an opinion about the level and value of what will be said. The solution is previous experience affects my biases. And another example is green flag words, responding to statements and not listening for your solution. Solution to that, I must be willing for the answers to my questions. Next slide. Some external noise pollution. Um, some examples to that. Um, the talker not speaking loud enough. The solution to that is talk loud enough so everyone can hear you. Another example is the room temperature. Solution to that is pay attention to the room temperature and ensure it is adjusted properly. Another example is the scenery. A talker must be sure they are presenting or talking in a good environment free of distractions. Next slide. Some additional external noise pollution could be, as an example, work pressure. The solution to that is focus on the task at hand. Check work pressures at the door. Another example is chewing gum. Do not chew gum, it can be distracting. Next slide. My action plan, practice listening to talkers' entire message. When people are talking, wait until they are done, then I can talk. Do not assume what the speaker is saying. I can interpret the wrong message. I must focus on the content instead of the messenger. Make eye contact, ask questions, nod my head to show that I am following along with the speaker. Next slide. This is a list of my references required for this presentation, and thank you very much.